Hello, my name is Crystal Puentes, and this week's Ethics Corner is to discuss how nurses can help the healthcare industry in reducing legal liability at the bedside, including an example from your place of employment. So I think one of the best ways to reduce legal liability is by utilizing the resources that the facility gives you to help prevent mistakes. So anything a nurse would be liable for are for, any type of interventions or treatments that you do incorrectly that results in like the harm of a patient. So like for example, in the hospitals, they have like a way to scan medications. You scan the patient's band, then you scan the medication, and if everything matches, it's good to go. So how this prevents mistakes from happening, from harming the patient, is it'll flag you if that medication's not for the right person, or if it's not for that patient, if it's not the right dose, if it's literally not even the right medication, it will tell you like, hey, wrong dosage, wrong med, wrong patient. So utilizing that is a good resource. However, there are ways that we find to kind of find a shortcut. So let me give you an example. Sometimes the normal saline bags that we have, they just don't scan. Like they don't. Like they're scanning for like 10 minutes, and in the ER, if you're busy, you can have time to try and, either get this bag to scan from whatever angle it finally works at, or you need to go all the way to the Pyxis, return that bag, or return it to pharmacy and then get another bag. So sometimes, that can be really tasking. You don't have enough time. So you just bypass that and then you click on it and then there you go. So in that instance, that's where like nurses start finding shortcuts, and then next they're doing it for other meds, and then, they're not utilizing that resource that we have to prevent from making mistakes. So that's something that, it's there for a reason. It can be taxing sometimes, but, it is helpful. So another thing that is put in place is like the Pyxis machine. We're typing in the meds and it pulls it out for us. It should give us the correct medication. So recently there was that nurse that was found guilty for a medication that she gave that ended up killing the patient, ended up paralyzing them. And they were saying in the documents, I guess, that the way she typed it in the Pyxis, didn't type it all the way in, pulled a completely different med. I guess she ended up mixing it. You didn't even need to mix the other medication that she gave it. So that's how she ended up killing someone. So there's that thing, is that she probably didn't scan it because it would not have matched. And then another thing was like, if you would have spelled it all the way out correctly on the Pyxis, it would have pulled out the correct medication that you need, and then there's the whole thing that they teach you in nursing school, that you're supposed to like double check it, like triple check it 3 times, make sure it's the right, patient, the right dose, the right med, the right time, and then the right scenario. So all that stuff got bypassed, and then that's what happened. So that's another thing that we need to use properly in order to reduce legal liability and stuff like that. I think those are definitely good resources that are used, that can be used, as long as we don't bypass them and stuff. And then another thing is, of course, documentation. It never happened if we didn't document it. Oh my goodness. I hate to think that, in reality, there is a lot of times where we do things and we don't document it because we're so busy. Like, I can't tell you how many times I've changed someone's brief and I didn't document it because I was just so busy. I try to get better at it, but things like that, you can document literally everything that you're doing, you're supposed to be documenting. And it's like, you do so much. When are you going to have time to sit down and actually, document every little tiny thing that you did, that you offered PO fluids and stuff like that? But it is important to keep up with your documentation. I have gotten a lot better at it because I am better at managing my time now. So it is important. I did actually read an interesting article about that as well, how timely documentation is also being put into play, that if you're not documenting in a timely manner and then something occurs, and because you documented it all late, it can actually affect you in court. So that was another interesting fact. I will be putting that article down in the comments. So if you guys want to take a look, it actually involved a doctor's documentation that was put in late, ended up affecting them in court as well. They feel like it was kind of biased as well since it was put in late, and just the way that the documentation was kind of changed a little bit, it did kind of affect him quite a bit, which was surprising. Things I would say in my workplace that I would say I've like kind of avoided, I guess, legal liability is by using those examples that I was giving, by using like the scanning stuff and everything. There's been a lot of times where I do find myself like, it's the right med, but the dosage is a little off, or like it's too early or too late. Like I've noticed in the system, you'll see that it's due, but then the person before you gave it like way too late, and then it's too early to give, and I had maybe missed that. So when I scan it, it'll flag me and it'll tell me like, hey, it's too early to give. So that's like a nice thing. I've also had several instances where patients are like threatening everyone, and they're saying that they're gonna sue, and that so they're frustrating at everyone, and they're trying to say that we're not taking care of them properly. It's kind of difficult because they'll like be refusing care, and there's so many interventions that could take care of their issue. So they'll like want to be leaving AMA and stuff, and they'll be trying to say that, we didn't do what we were supposed to do, when in reality we did. It comes down to like, in a way, it's their word versus ours. But when it comes to our actions, if we don't document them, we didn't do them. So I have multiple times been in those scenarios where people were trying to leave AMA, and I make sure to document that I did everything in my power to, one, advocate for the patient, and two, make multiple attempts, to give the patient a chance, to make a decision on whether they want the treatment or not, and then to educate, and fourth, to like also involve a higher up, whether it be the doctor, the charge nurse, the OA, whoever it is, but that I did my part in advocating for this patient, because they're wanting to leave, they're refusing treatment. I had one patient who had an elevated troponin, was on dialysis, wanting to leave, refusing treatment, trying to say that we weren't taking care of him, but yeah, we had offered, all our resources that we had and all our education to try and get him to stay, to tell him our plan, to even kind of like tweak it a little bit to work and, be kind of understanding to what his concerns were, but he just wasn't having it. I had already involved the charge nurse, the doctors, everyone had already spoke to him, and he just was, already, and I could tell like even the charge nurse at that point was just like, no, just let him go. He wants to leave AMA, let him leave AMA. But in my mind, I was like, no, I'm going to try and do everything I can, because I know, he needs to stay. He needs the treatment. But he ended up leaving AMA, but I did document fully on all the interventions that I did to, help him. And thank you for listening.